Welcome, Emerging Instructional Technologies viewers, to our explanation of our VLE by Steve and Elizabeth. The tool in front of you right now is X-Plane, a recreational grade flight simulator with a lot of professional features. One of the difficulties in teaching student pilots, according to Sean Coyle, a friend of mine, an author of several books on flight instruction in helicopters and safe flight of helicopters, is helping students concentrate on which instruments are important in a flight. In our prior video, and what we're going to demo to you now, we're going to show you how we highlight the ring instruments as a function of Camtasia when we make the video to demonstrate the use of a VLE plus a video recorder as a means of making an instructional video. So why is this VLE important? Flight time in a private aircraft can reach as high as $200 an hour by the time you count the cost of having a certified flight instructor teach you your 40 hours of flight. So while X-Plane has some inconsistencies with the real-world aircraft, practicing in X-Plane and similar flight simulators for professional and amateur flight students working on their initial license, the private pilot's certificate, this can save tremendous amount of cost because they're required to have a minimum of 40 hours before they're allowed to solo. Most flight instructors may push that out between 50 and 70 hours, and it is ultimately the decision of the flight instructor to certify when the student can solo. The student's pretty much at the mercy of the flight instructor. So you'll notice I just throttled up, which is the gauge down at the bottom. The airplane's spinning around a little bit because of an inconsistency in the flight model, but in the real aircraft that's caused by the torque on the propeller. So I'm going to take off now. Here I've reached my airspeed, I'm releasing my brakes, and I'm pulling back on the stick. Doing this in a real aircraft for the first time with a student gives most instructors the jitters because they have no idea how the student is going to react to suddenly being pulled off the ground at a climb of approximately 20 feet per minute. It is absolutely overwhelming when you're up there. I have friends that are private pilots and I get to ride with them occasionally. I have a lifelong interest in aviation. So the whole purpose of having a tool like this, when certified as an advanced training device according to the FAA, Federal Aviation Administration, and there is an AATD certification for X-Plane, though not this version, allows a flight instructor to assign tasks to the student that would be considered hazardous in the real aircraft, such as spin and stall training, or to see, with a fairly good computer setup, if the potential student pilot can really handle the task they're about to take on. This saves the student a lot of money if the instructor finds the student does not have the hand-eye coordination, or generally has anxiety or some other characteristic not desirable in a pilot. So you'll notice I've managed to take off, fly the aircraft. I'm not worried about the real world. In the real world, there would have been several radio calls. We would have checked the airspace for other flight traffic, got permission to take off, all sorts of things which, in a classroom environment with a VLE simulator such as X-Plane, can be ignored for the time being to get the student to work on the basics. Elizabeth picked up the basics of holding the aircraft level like this in about 20 minutes and was able to successfully identify 75% of the instruments in about 40 minutes of practice with this, the crucial six-pack of instruments. So, thank you for flying with us today. We're going to bank to the right a little bit, show you coming back to the aircraft, show the aircraft coming back to the airport. And as you can tell, the visuals are rather spectacular. We could go chase the hot air balloons or things like that. I have most of the terrain modeling turned off as this is on a rather slow computer. And the importance of this tool is saving time, money, and lives in a classroom environment during ground school. And as private pilots have to take 20 hours of ground school before they're even allowed in flight, this simplifies explanation of basic concepts. For example, I'm now going to stall the aircraft deliberately and cause a loss of lift. And in a real aircraft, we would have just turned upside down because of going into the stall too fast. So I can now attempt to recover the aircraft, and in a real situation we would have pulled some tens of G, some fraction of a G. And I didn't make it through my recovery because I wasn't high enough, and you can see the simulated smoke drifting across the screen. Again, if that were initiated in a real aircraft at approximately 2,000 feet like that, both the pilot and instructor would not survive. This was a hidden example of showing you how the tool is effective in a classroom environment. Thank you.